The biggest and best media outlets around the world are now joining the battle against fake news, and we're going to do it here on I-24 News as well, but spin room style. It's time for our brand new fact-checking segment, Calev's Call. And here is Calev Ben-David from I-24 News, from our host, The Rundown. Calev, it's great to have you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Great to be here. And as you mentioned, a lot of news outlets these days are doing their own forms of fact-checking in this era of so-called fake news. Yeah. And we have our own sort of spin cycle, and we're going to rate comments by the categories mostly true, half true, mostly false, and as we say in my native New York, pure baloney.
Pure baloney.
That's
right. My favorite one. I hope we see some more.
And we're going to focus on the elections because you know Israel's going to the polls next week, and we're going to look at some of the election.
Okay, take it away. What's your first statement or remark from a politician that you want to give your call on?
Sure. So let's look at the finance minister, Moshe Kahlon, head of the Kulano party, and he is running a campaign based mainly on economics, what he has done for the voter, and he, in one of his ads, he has put forward a comment that basically looks at some of the claims that he has made, among them that he has instituted a nice tax credits program, that he's raised the minimum wage, and most important, that he brought down apartment prices. Housing prices have been a big issue in Israel. They've been rising for his decade. Yeah. He campaigned on this promise. I'm going to lower apartment prices, and that's what he is claiming.
Young couples are complaining that they have to live with their parents all the time because they can't afford housing prices. Okay, so let's see the first time. Let's see Calev's call on the statement from Minister Kahlon. Let's have a look. What's your call, Calev? Wow, we're kicking it off with the mostly true. Why is that?
Because the Bank of Israel issued a report last week saying, sure enough, housing prices in Israel have gone down for the first time in a decade. Wow. So it's true. I was saying mostly true because other factors could be at play here, but Moshe Kahlon deserves a lot of the credit. But here's the kicker, Ami. It doesn't matter because Moshe Kahlon's Kulano party is not doing well at the polls. They're down to about half the seats in parliament they currently have, and some even say he may not even make it to parliament. So what is the moral here, the lesson that unlike in the U.S. elections, remember what they used to say during the Clinton era, it's the economy stupid, but in Israel, it's not the economy stupid.
The lesson is when the prime minister offers you the portfolio of finance, probably not a good idea to take.
No, in Israel, it's really about security. People talk about economics, but on election day, Moshe Kahlon delivered on housing, but it's not making that big a deal.
Okay, so we started with mostly true. Let's go to your next one. What are you checking?
Right, so I want to look at one of the best ads we've seen over the past couple of months. It's not actually from a political party. It's from the organization Peace Now. It's a left-wing group that advocates making peace with Israel's Arab neighbors and the Palestinians, giving up the West Bank, for example. And they're running a very effective ad, which features Lior Ashkenazi, one of the top actors in Israel, talking about how his life was, in fact, saved by the fact that Israel made peace with Egypt by giving up the Sinai after the 1967 war. Let's take a look at that ad and assess it.
Okay.
Think about it. For decades, we've not lost a single Israeli soldier in a war with Egypt. Had we listened to the voices claiming we must not give up the territories, that we cannot trust the Arabs, that we must not compromise, how many more dead soldiers would we count every Remembrance Day?
Okay, so basically we want to check that what the claim is that his life was saved because of the arrangement of giving peace, or giving land for peace, and that was what avoided wars. Let's see what your call, Calev's call, is. Only half true.
Right. I would call it even half a truth because there was another country that Israel fought in the 1967 war. It got territory from, and it didn't give up that territory, the Golan Heights, which it took from Syria. And how many wars has Israel fought with Syria since then? None. So, in fact, it may not have been that they gave up the territory because it doesn't apply in Syria. We have other cases in Israel where Israel's given up territories in the Gaza Strip and in Lebanon that did lead to conflicts. So there could be good arguments to be made for giving up territories, for example, the West Bank, but I'm not sure this one is convincing. And you know what? The left-wing parties that have pushed this line, like the Meretz Party, are not doing so well with the polls. Maybe because it's only a half-truth or half the truth.
That's right. The left-wing parties are really not doing well. Okay, what's your next one?
Well, let's move down to the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Yes, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. A big story in the past week saying it was in the New York Times that a phony network, a network of phony Twitter accounts was set up to support his Likud party and attack his rival, Benny Gantz. Yeah. And let's listen to Prime Minister Netanyahu's defense against this report of these phony Twitter accounts, and let's assess his defense.
Okay.
They claim that the support for the Likud party on the web is not from people, but from bots. Not real people, but robots.
Okay, so the Prime Minister is saying that his claim is, we're not bots. That's the word that he's using. Let's see what your Calev call is. Mostly false.
Mostly false, because if you look at the original New York Times report about these phony Twitter accounts, that Times report specifically says that the accounts appear to be operated by people, not bots, make them much harder to detect. Right. The New York Times never claimed these phony Twitter accounts were set up by robots or bots, but they were operated by people using fake names and fake accounts, and Twitter has taken down many of the accounts. But look how clever Prime Minister Netanyahu is. He sort of deflects what the accusation is onto something that he can discount. It's not bots, it's people. Real people that may be setting up phony Twitter accounts and being paid for it, which is also against the law. But he's deflecting, saying, we're not bots. The Likud adopting this. It shows you how clever Prime Minister Netanyahu is
very good at that.
In making a spin. He's setting up a straw man and knocking it down.
Perfect. He does that very well and many, many times. And I believe the next one that we have is from a person that you actually interviewed not long ago, the leader of the Shas party, Aryeh Deri.
Aryeh Deri, yes, a ultra-Orthodox religious party. We discussed one particular issue, the Western Wall, this Jerusalem holy spot, where Reform and Orthodox and Reform and conservative movements want to make a special place for non-Orthodox prayer.
Our viewers in the United States really, really care about.
And they want to also let women pray their egalitarian prayer. And let's listen to something that and assess the response that Aryeh Deri gave against that.
The Western Wall, for dozens of years, served everyone. There is one Western Wall. There aren't three. That is the Western Wall, and anyone who wants to go in can always go in. It never was detrimentally affect them. Suddenly, there are people who find it difficult to put on their phylacteries and read out of the Torah. Why are they inciting things? Why are they do that when 99% of Jews want it as is?
So we're going to talk about that figure, the 99.9% that Aryeh Deri said.
That's right. But there have been surveys done of the Israeli public that show, in fact, it is not 99.9%.
Wait, before you get there, I think I want to see. We have to see if it's what your call is. What's Calev's call? Let's take a look. Wow, pure baloney.
Because let's look at the real numbers of the survey, and they show that, in fact, according to polls, that, as you can see, they're coming up, 42% of Israeli Jews favor egalitarian prayer space, while 48%, not 99.9%, oppose it. So the couple
just threw that number out.
Right.
Calev.
If you're not the finance minister, you probably shouldn't throw out statistics. And it's a curious argument for Aryeh Deri to make because as a matter of fact, there are other issues where the Israeli public opposes his positions as a majority, for example, public transportation on the Jewish Sabbath, the Shabbat, or civil weddings in Israel as opposed to Orthodox weddings. And you don't hear him saying, well, the majority of the public opposes it, so that's why we should have it. But on this issue, suddenly, it's really up to how the Israeli public decides. So his figure is just pure baloney.
Fantastic.
Kosher baloney.
Kosher baloney, of course.
Black kosher
So we had
baloney.
everything today from pure baloney to the truth.